You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love. Hey, welcome to the Skateboarding Bros Show. Today we have the pleasure of having George Wilson and Mitch Kaufmann, two legends in their own right, out of Jacksonville. George is in LA now, but he's in town for the unfortunate event of paying tribute to the life and times of Jimmy Plumer. So we welcome them to the show. And I was wondering, maybe we could start off, Mitch, and I really want to watch that video together.
Yeah, great video.
So
you only had a couple weeks to put this together. It's
a couple days.
Great job. I mean, we should look at this thing.
I about lost my mind. I spent so many hours on it because, you know, it was coming on Saturday and I had to get it done.
So
and you dumped Jimmy's ashes out in sea.
Yeah, we got it all.
We all paddled out yesterday.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, hey, let's show the video because a lot of people don't know Jimmy Plumer. He was fast. He was cool. He was always at the top of the game, and died too young. I hope he had a good-looking corpse.
I'm going to play the short version. The long version's similar.
So we
gotta know.
If you make that public,
we gotta know.
I want to know.
Gotta know what?
We gotta know about the roster rats. So did you guys smoke any of his ashes?
We thought about it.
We snorted a little.
Oh,
We've advanced from smoking to snorting now.
Put it in your Kool-Aid.
We don't smoke anymore, but if we had to smoke some of his ashes, we don't know what's in there, man.
Yeah,
so it might not be safe.
Boy.
Yeah, we may be doing a memorial for us if we took a hit off that shit.
So I remember meeting Jimmy at Tampa Skate Wave.
Oh God!
And I was riding a Weber skateboard. I was wearing a Weber T-shirt. He's like, "Hey, bro, do you ride for Weber?" I was like, "Well, I ride a Weber." And that was when he was just starting up with Dave Hart. So it's the Weber house up there. And so we got to talking, and it was I didn't know who he was. And so we skated just one time at Skate Wave, and then next thing I know, I'm seeing this guy in the magazines. I'm like, hey, that's that guy I was skating with at Skate Wave. But by the way, what a shitty park, but it was a lot of fun. That's all we had. That's probably 76?
75, yeah, 76.
Yeah.
That was a nasty place.
Good time.
So Mitch,
I think the worst park in Florida was probably Land Lee at the Jax Beach. That was probably the worst skateboard park ever built.
Well,
Longwood kind of
and that was Plumer's home park because he worked there with Hart.
Oh,
Hart had a pro shop. Didn't he have a pro shop in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, I saw pictures of what did you call the monstrosity? The compilation of plywood that was out in front of. No.
That was Hart's. That was like a wave or whatever. That was before half pipes. Yeah, I don't know what year was that Hart's ramp. Yeah, that thing was horrendous, but too it was like
76.
Probably in 76.
75.
So it was like that
was 75, 76.
Yeah, I think it was late 75.
Mitch dropped off. We need him to get back on the.
Huh?
It's like a big pancake or something.
You're off the thing now.
So was the paddle out well attended?
It was a nice turnout. It wasn't huge. You know, I think Plumer rattled some feathers along the way in his life. So maybe some certain people didn't show up, but it was a nice little event, but it wasn't massive at all. I was kind of wondering how the turnout would be, but you know, I mean, Jimmy and I had such a long history in Florida, and then riding for Z-Flex and stuff. I just had to come, you know what I mean? So I got to make it no matter what.
Yep. No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, rock stars tend to ruffle some feathers, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But in the end, we're all brothers, and
like I said, I wouldn't say him and I were best friends, but we had a lot of history, you know what I mean? And I respected a lot of things he did for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
like I
the
hung
shit
out
you
with
did
him all the time.
Yeah.
Introduce what we're doing.
This is a compilation
Hey,
video.
there's my name on there. Look at that.
That's right. Your name's all over the on stuff on everything I do.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Mitch Kaufmann
You're a
directed.
godsend.
He's the producer.
Did you film this?
Everything.
Yeah, he
this
shot
is.
all that footage from old Kona.
Yeah, so
Right.
this
That's
is
my
Phil-
footage. Mitch turned it into something. That's good.
Dude, the footage you shot is incredible.
So this is the short version.
Yeah, this is a 10-minute version. Here's Plumer.
Oh, I love this.
Ah.
Well, he's laughing.
That's a great one.
Not quite as fast. Not quite as fast
that-
as you.
Was that Buck in the background?
Yeah, that was Buck. We're having dinner with Buck at 7.
Right on. Excellent.
That's Buck, Marty, and Plumer.
This was a video. We were making a little promo video for Kona a few years ago. And so we went out there and shot some stuff. That was Plumer's grandkid. So where's the audio?
1959 in Santa Monica, California.
Is there
His
audio
parents
or are you
relocated to Jax Beach
Yeah.
when he was 5 years old.
Hackett's going to be bummed if you don't get that audio in there.
You know that's right.
Before Jimmy's
Sounds
parents
like you know
divorced,
Hackett.
And his dad moved back to Santa Monica.
I don't know why
Jimmy's
it's not
mom met and
playing
remarried
on there. Is it
Lloyd,
being picked up by the microphone?
diver and fisher.
Yeah.
He introduced Jimmy to the world of fishing and diving. Attending Fletcher Junior High School, Jimmy became part of a crew of kids that lived to surf and skate, all pushing each other both in the water and
Good
on the
Lord.
cement. In the summer of '74, while on his annual trip to stay with his dad in California, Jimmy became friends with a young unknown Tony Alva, who was already light
There he
years
is.
ahead of his time on skateboard.
So yeah, look at Tony. How
Hauling ass. Yep. Hauling ass with Steve's.
And we were riding those little clay wheels before urethane clay wheels, little skinny boards. Me, Jay, Tony, and my brother Danny Plumer.
He introduced pool riding before the magazines came out, and he dominated with speed and style on anything and everything with an incline.
Main Street overpass.
He would take off at the top, and again, it just comes screaming down the bank of the Haines Street overpass. I was like, this guy is nuts. This guy is crazy. Jimmy Plumer took things to a whole nother level. Skating back then was surfing. You did aerial. You did your wheels out, but that was like getting your fins out of the top of the wave, and so we built it like a wave. We called it the Hart's Weber House Bowl.
Oh, so gnarly.
yeah, say the least.
Yeah.
Been in 360s up there, 1.5.
I was gonna do what is it? Gorilla grip thing?
He ate it.
In June of 1977, Kona Skate Park
Yeah,
wanted
it
to
was a
hire
tire
him,
inner tube.
but as a loyal member of Dave Hart's Weber team, he was committed to working at Landolly, the skate park at Jax Beach, next to the present-day Taco
This is
Loop,
the worst park
which
ever.
was built by Emmett Granby and managed by Hart. Ironically, Kona was perfect for Plumer's high-speed antics, and he dominated the place, along with George Wilson.
Woo!
He would take off at the top of the snake run, and you would think he was going to go down the snake run, but he pivoted and came screaming down the bowl at a speed that was astonishing.
At the end of that summer of '77, they held the first East Coast professional skateboard contest, and Plumer easily won the downhill snake run event, took his earnings, and moved back to Santa Monica, also known as Dogtown, where he was born, bred, and belonged. He was already accepted into the group's top echelon, a feat accomplished by less than a handful of outsiders. He soon found himself on the iconic Z-Flex team with his own professional skateboard model, which bore the image of a rat, proudly displaying his Rat Town heritage of North Florida. In 1978, the first big United States pro skateboard championship.
Wait.
Look at the ramp. Look at the ramp in the background.
That's
oh my
what I'm
God.
thinking. What was going on with the ramp?
Well, along with the worst skate park, the worst ramp ever built. There you go.
First ramp ever built. Oh my God.
It was too far apart. If it was closer together, you could have worked it.
That's a lot.
And maybe a little too narrow. Right, this side right here, it's 8 feet wide. It's wider here. See the drop in?
Yeah.
It's 8 foot wide on that side. I mean, are you kidding me? Fucking.
That's crazy.
Wasn't there a kink? It was kink to vert.
It was horrendous.
Nobody got to vert.
Imagine the ramp you could have built with all that wood.
You couldn't even get to vert.
You gotta learn.
Was held at Kona, and Jimmy returned with the Dogtown crew. As the local favorite, he amazed the crowd with his mastery of Kona's oversized terrain, but was ultimately defeated by fellow Dogtowner Dave Hackett.
Yeah, he had to put that in there. Of course, he lost to Dave Hackett.
We were good in everything.
I love Hack so much.
Anything like that. And we had the hottest kid from here. Jimmy picked them out. And every time Jimmy got a new product out, we got
Z Groove.
Z Groove wheels.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
4 ridges.
These kids that were coming up, Jimmy saw their potential. Mike Cox and Michael Hollenbeck. They were the 2 standouts on the team besides Jimmy and George.
For the next 2 years, Jimmy enjoyed a steady rise in fame and notoriety as a top world champion rock star skate icon.
What was that? What was that, George?
Well, I didn't say anything. Oh, yeah? There you go.
Is that Eddie O'Gara?
That's Jerry Valdez.
Jerry Valdez.
Yeah, that's the chair.
The chair.
Dang, those are some handsome looking boys. Break me off a piece of that.
They're stoned out of their mind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And Plumer's saying don't do drugs, and he's so stoned he could hardly talk.
Allegedly.
No helmet.
Mexico.
That's Arizona, that pipe and half pipe.
Yeah, skate in the shade, Arizona.
Polar bear.
So hot.
No,
it's Kent Senator, his brother
Scotty.
Scott, and
Okay.
What is that?
that's the
Turning
motorboard.
Point. Puncture Madness.
What was that? What is this?
liquid.
This is the gnarliest half pipe at the old Oxnard skate park. I mean, that thing it had about 2 feet of transition and about a solid 4 feet of vert. Fuck, thing was gnarly. And Plumer ripped that for sure.
I'm watching this. I'm like, holy.
Yeah, look at it. You can see it. It's all vert.
It looks like they went back and patched.
Yeah, they probably said, damn, this thing's deadly. Like, look at down there. It's just like...
It's kind of interesting if you think about it. We've looked at 3 things in that era that were so dangerous that, big GW has put them in the class of worst of all time.
This might be the worst concrete half pipe.
I can agree with that.
So
the 70s was a lot of trial and error, I guess.
Did y'all ever skate Upland?
Yeah.
I know you did.
Yeah.
So remember Upland had the pipe, but it also had those giant bowls in the back with a lot of vert. Plumer would take off from way back and kick all the way and drop into those giant bowls with about at least 6 feet of vert. And he would do like edgers out the top of these giant bowls, which was just death defying. Remember when we got there?
It was a rolled lip. It wasn't coping. It was a rolled lip.
No, yeah, they were rolled lip.
Yeah, just like this kind of. It was a rolled lip, and he would do edgers with 6 feet of vert and probably 4 feet of curve. They might have been 12 feet high.
I think one of them was almost 15.
15.
The front one, the big one. I think it was 14.
No
or
one
15.
even skated, and they were so big. And Plumer just ripped them.
Yeah, it reminds me of the guys from Del Mar.
Before he made the ridged wheels.
Yeah,
that was way before that. Yeah.
That was 77.
All right, let's see what else we got here. This is just some scary stuff. At least the trucks are getting a little wider. What are those, mid tracks?
Those are mid tracks. Yeah, it looks like it.
That's
And
right.
then then Jimmy was these are BCS. He was sponsored by them, and those trucks weren't the best either. But
So he had one of the fiberglass C-Flex boards, didn't he?
he did. That was his
Wait,
first model. Yeah. This is Arizona. That was a really fun.
Here's Arizona. Yeah, that's Oasis there.
He's
That's
got a
Arizona.
motor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was definitely pulling backside of the air on that. There was a sequence earlier in the thing. Yeah, he was getting good air out
one time. It was fun.
I'd never seen anyone do that, and I don't know if anyone's ever done it after.
No.
It's crazy. And then this next picture. Okay, so where's this?
This is Arizona. It's called the Getaway Skate Park in Arizona. And there was a big contest there, and we all went out. It was we had such a good time. But because you could also kind of like Mount Baldy, how they had the wall. It's just sort of designed off Mount Baldy, so you could just totally click out and go onto that. But Plumer, in his first run, he never even practiced it. He got up on there and tail dropped in like the elevator. And it's not really any flat bottom, so it was kind of heavy. It was even kind of hard to get up there.
So it's not like Kona where you got 50 yards to roll it out.
No, you had to come up, and he made it too. His first run, he'd never even done it. He just got up there. That's where he started his first run.
In the contest?
Yeah, in this contest.
That's rock star shit right there.
That's total rock star shit. Totally.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see the edge is about, I don't even know if it was, maybe it was 6 inches, but
6 to 8 inches, but he had to climb.
I think someone put a piece of wood, like a stick or something, so he could stand up there.
Yeah.
Was it because he was so good at speed that he could get this trick, or
he's just crazy?
Yeah.
He wanted to do something no one else was going to do.
This is all crazy. If you look how narrow that tombstone is, he climbed up with 6 inches of platform at the top.
There's no ladder. There was nothing.
No, I can't remember, but I think someone with a broomstick or something, so he could kind of hold as he sat.
Yeah.
And he hadn't even done it. He did it in this run, and he totally made it too.
How did he do in the contest?
I think he was skating good. I don't know how he did, but he was skating good in that contest.
Those total disregard for his own well-being.
Totally. That was his life. That was his. That was.
Yeah.
We'll have to put that on the front page of the of the event or the episode here.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, that looks like Oasis. Oh, there it is, the moto board.
How many people? Okay, how many boards were sold? Moto boards.
Oh, he didn't make those. He just got one. And I remember when he told me, he goes, "Dude, I got a motor board. I'm going to take it to the park." And then I was there the day, and he was totally busting air. So. Yeah, we didn't make them. Somehow he got one, and he brought it to the park. And he's busting air his first day.
So who are all these people? Is this George? Is this you over here?
That's George.
Yeah. This is me. Up here's Wes Humpston.
No, they can't see you.
Oh, okay. So Wes Humpston.
So look, okay. So who's controlling who's got the mouse?
I do.
You do?
Okay,
Okay, you hover over somebody,
Billy,
and George will tell you who it is.
Him is the only guy, I can't remember his name. Billy Uron, Paul Constantino, Bella, Jim Muir, Plumer, Paul Hackett, David's brother, rest in peace. That's the kid Wesley Bennett that was like a little ripper at Marina. Plumer. And at the bottom right is David Ferry.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, whatever happened to Bella?
And leaning on the ladder is Wes Humpston.
Oh, sorry.
His head's cut off. That's me right there.
What happened to Bella?
Heavy hitters right there.
Bella, he's living in Arizona, I think. Bella was like 9 or 10 right there. He actually came to Kona with Alpha in that contest.
Everybody here has Nikes on.
That's when they, right when they kind of everybody switched over.
Nikes and Norcons.
This is 78 or 9.
This I think might be 78. I can tell by my pads. I think it's the end of 7. Later in 78.
So there it is, Phil. We tell by the pads. That's how we decide old stuff. Well,
Because those thick leather rectors.
It's all about fashion.
There's those. Oh, he's on a crypto board there.
So
Everyone has
these
their
are
moment of
78,
crypto.
and that's
77.
the dog.
That's when he
77.
first got to California.
So this famous picture. Who did Phil take this too, or did you take this? Or
That's not mine.
No, this
That's
is
Friedman.
That's Friedman. This is called the Crypto Bowl. You see Shogo in the back there. Jay, is that Moses Padilla next to him?
Yeah, Moses.
But so D. David Morin was working for Kryptonics, and it was called the Flamingo Bowl. See the flamingo in the upper left-hand corner?
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was called the Flamingo Bowl. D. David showed up with a bag full of Kryptonics and gave everybody Kryptonics. Then they called it the Crypto Bowl. And Plumer's the only one that wasn't riding Kryptonics.
What kind of wheels is he riding?
But this is the pool where all those shots were in the Dogtown book with Jay's lifting up the coping and Shogo, and see Shogo's riding a crypto board.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's some really amazing shots from this pool.
From Friedman.
From Glenn Friedman in the Dogtown book.
What wheels are those that Jimmy's got on?
It looks like an experimental Z wheel.
Yeah, that's a Z wheel. That's got to be that Z formula.
Oh,
That's a test wheel. You can see it. There's no markings.
There's no logo.
Yeah.
You can hear them from here.
Yeah. You hear that?
Those are just, you can hear them. That's rattling right there.
They're
And
super
Well,
hard.
and it looks like he's riding energy trucks, which are really bad too.
Oh, God.
well,
That's
Shogo's
the truck,
having to
yeah.
ride that foam board piece of crap. That Kryptonics foam boards were junk.
Yeah, those were terrible.
The price was right.
Like I say, the 70s were all about experimentation, I guess.
Yeah.
I think people were getting a little too high. Hey, that might work.
This is an early shot. These are early shots.
Just a
Yeah,
few
these
years
are
later,
that's
in
78.
1980,
Those
Jimmy's
are like
crazy antics
early
finally
70s.
led
Early
to the decision
78,
to
yeah.
move back to Florida, where he began his career of fishing and deep sea diving with his stepfather, Vic Lloyd.
Some big fishes, big boys.
I'll tell you, Plumer was an insane fisherman.
Yeah. Good diver.
Incredible. Yeah. Big ass grouper. With a
But make no
snapper.
mistake, Jimmy's energy, charisma, penchant for being radical had not subsided with his geographical relocation. Using Hart's Weber House as ground zero, Jimmy accumulated quite the following of miscreants, including Doug Gall, one of the most entertaining humans to ever walk the face of the earth. And of course,
Oh, my.
Dennis Rich, the coolest guy in the world.
Good morning. It's Doug Gall in Malapa, East Costa Rica. Getting ready to call one of these howler monkeys over here to have some of my sweetheart coffee.
Although Jimmy's craziness didn't subside, he married Shirley and had his daughter Ty in the May of 1983. His only offspring, who in turn made him a grandfather at the age of 49.
Grandpa Jimmy.
There you go.
That's a great shot.
In
This is
1994,
crazy.
Plumer survived a horrific shark attack, which made global news.
And he grabbed me and swam me up in the water, off the bottom, about 30 foot up in the water. I had my gun in this hand with a spear gun with a power head on the end of it. I hit him in the head a couple of times, and it seemed like 30 seconds, but I know it was only a couple of seconds. He held me and just shook me while he spun me up in the water and knocked my mask off my head. And then he let go. Just out of the blue, let go. I grabbed my mask, put it back on my head real quick and cleared because I wanted to see where it was at. And as soon as I cleared my mask, I looked down. He was underneath me about 30 foot, and he was swimming back up at me. I figured he was going to come up at me and make another hit or bump me or something. And I had my gun in my hand. I just aimed it at him, pulled the trigger, hit him in the head, and he went spinning off. And that's when I dropped everything and hauled ass to the top.
Jimmy spent the past 40 years as an accomplished diver, fishing out of Mayport, Florida, and never outgrew that rock star, never grow up mentality.
Was he still skateboarding when he was doing the fishing stuff?
For a while he did, yeah.
Yeah, he was skating up until about 15 years ago.
That's a slayer, man. Big fish.
When the Dogtown and Z-Boys documentary and movie bred new life into skateboarding's legacy years, Plumer enjoyed that resurgence of notoriety and fame. He even got several reissues of his Z-Flex Jimmy Plumer model back out on the market again.
Very cool.
No doubt. Sorry about.
He always attended the events at Kona, and he maintained friendships around.
That's Biniac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Rest
died
in
in
peace.
Jacksonville too.
So you had Dan Murray
Hunter,
and Buck.
Buck and Chuck.
Buck and Chuck.
Buck and Chuck, you dumb.
Chuck was at the paddle out yesterday.
Yeah.
And Hunter was there, and Buck was there. Plumer was even there. He was just a lot smaller.
Yeah, we got his ashes, and Mitch is like, man, we hung out with Plumer last night. I go, man, that's the most well-behaved he's ever been in his life.
I don't know if you
ashes for bait, catch some fish with them.
I was afraid sharks were going to come up.
Christian and Tony.
Yeah, Biniac.
My God.
Marty Grimes.
Marty Grimes.
There was never a dull moment.
And there's Peggy.
He had that Dogtown spontaneity and radical fearless
infamous leather shorts.
You never knew what was coming.
Do we need one to look at those
You
again?
could only hope that if anyone was going to jail, it wasn't going to be you.
Wow.
For those people that missed it, he passed away about a month before we're doing this show.
Yeah.
There's Polar Bear.
This is Kent.
Jay's stepdad.
Kent Sherwood and Winsel
Rummel.
This is Jay's paddle out.
This is Jay's paddle out, yeah.
Other coast.
Yeah.
Venice Pier.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people were at that paddle out?
It was massive.
Bet.
Can't even. The whole pier was covered, and
there was over 1,000. The Coast Guard had a boat spraying water all day. It was an all-day event.
I think there was way more. I think there was close.
There could have been. There could have been 2,000.
Yeah, I think
the whole pier was packed. The beach was packed. The water was packed. It was crazy.
I'd say it was a few thousand for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the people in the water.
And people came from from Hawaii and all over the place.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was big, and the waves were fun.
Well, wait a minute. Speaking of the waves, I heard the waves were pretty good Saturday.
It was good. It was good yesterday. It was good today. It's going to be good for the next week. We have hurricanes galore off the coast.
Oh. Bruce Mason sends his regards. He said he got a nice wave, but he got beat up because he didn't have his leash.
That wasn't that big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had to paddle a long way. He wasn't ready. He hadn't been surfing.
That's true. That's true. Because he was out with us. Yeah. He hadn't been surfing in a while.
It took him about a half hour to rest up so he could paddle out for the event.
Yeah.
The tournament.
There's Peggy.
Yeah.
These guys.
Dave Duncan. That's the mold
was
for
that?
his fiberglass board.
That's Ray Klein.
Yeah, he's got my flyaway.
Yeah, so that's the mold for the fiberglass board.
So which one weighs more, the board or the mold? Because they're
the mold's pretty heavy. I'd say the mold's at least a pound heavier.
okay. Those things are they're
Both
like
indestructible.
they're like Markel boards, right? You get one and you couldn't break it.
Yeah.
Try as you can.
Yeah, it's not a good strategy for long-term success.
Nice shot.
Great pictures. Who was that? That was Bockham sitting there.
Yeah.
That's Kona.
Oh, there's Bach.
Reggie Barnes, Balcom, George, Hunter. Who's the guy in the back? Who's that guy in the back?
I don't know.
It's not Fulmer.
No. Fulmer was there yesterday too.
This is probably the Kona's 40th, maybe. Yeah, 40th.
Yeah. It's right in the pro shop. All right.
Good old Reggie Barnes.
Is that Otis?
Otis.
Yeah.
That's Otis.
Otis
Hackett, Plumer, Mitch,
Olson.
And Olson.
Who's this guy?
That's Chris Wooten. He owns the seafood place out in Mayport. That's where Jimmy sold all of his fish. And this guy's been part of our surf community since he was his son's age down there. And now he's doing really well in the seafood industry and took care of Plumer totally. And this is a guy that feeds us. He fed us yesterday at Plumer's event. And every time we have an event, Kona's anniversaries, this is a guy that feeds us.
Yes, I was hoping that wasn't Olson, but I see Olson over there down on the right. So
yeah,
so,
he's the cool guy on the right.
Yeah, next to the other cool guy.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
He spent the last couple of years with his girlfriend Renee while working on his boat in order to retire to a life at sea.
So he passed away on that boat.
Two things are for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
He lived a legendary life, pedal to the metal, all the way to the end. And he will be missed by family, friends, and fans around the world. We love you, Jimmy.
So, sorry. Then,
he was pretty spectacular. He would always rise to the top whenever he was showing up. That was great.
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy didn't get cheated. I'll tell you that. He did not get cheated, and he probably hung out a lot longer than maybe he should have or could have.
Yeah.
I mean, but he definitely, and then it seemed like maybe he was never going to get taken. I mean, he had the bends probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Like we used to joke that the Coast Guard would be out, it's fucking Plumer again. So that, I mean, the Coast Guard rescued him at least 4 times out.
So when he got bit by that shark, was he diving alone?
Yeah, he was diving alone, but everybody was up in the boat. See, everybody came up before Plumer. When your oxygen runs out, you come up to the boat. Well, Plumer didn't do that. He would wait till the oxygen ran out before he'd come up. And that's why he got the bend so much.
Yeah, he would do like things like skip breathing. I mean, he was doing a lot of illegal shit out there, but he was just like, I mean, like I say, the guy was an incredible diver and fisherman. I mean, the guy was just like, yeah, he was crazy. I went out on a couple trips with him, and the guy's like, yeah, he's definitely, he fished like he did everything else, all the way to the edge.
Yeah.
Was he in the Lords of Dogtown movie, or how did that all tie together?
The movie was really based off 1975, so a lot of the guys that were involved with it weren't really in the movie or the documentary. But what Friedman did as it went on and he started doing other books, he started including the guys in that, you know what I mean? So that movie and the documentary was more based off sort of like 1975 and the original team and stuff like that.
Plumer didn't come along until 77.
Right, which is further testimony to the fact that he was accepted because they had already formed.
They had already known him for years.
Well, yeah, and also what a lot of it had to do, like even for me, I don't think I would ever got on the team if Jay left, and I think it just opened the door for guys like Polar Bear and myself, and like I don't believe I ever would have got on the team if Jay hadn't left. You know what I mean? Because they always kept it really small. You know what I mean? I mean, Z-Flex was actually a really small company.
Yeah.
You know, and there wasn't money behind it like a bunch of the other companies, but it was, you know, in my eyes, it was one of the two companies. Like it was just for me. I would have probably only really wanted to ride for Dogtown or Z-Flex, and I was like, I don't know, I was just like, for me, it was just an honor just to be able to ride with those guys. You know what I mean? So
you became what, team captain or something of that nature?
Well, you know, not really team captain, but what happened in the early '80s, I came back in with like Z-Flex sort of shut down in '80, and then Chris Pass, who was a partners with Jay's stepdad, he started it back up around '83 or '84, and I ran into him one day, and he says, "Hey, I'm starting the company back up. You want to come help me?" And I wasn't doing that much. So I said, yeah. So I built the team and kind of helped make everything in the beginning, you know, in the '80s.
George is modest. What happened was when Jay left, Plumer was the senior guy, so he was considered the team captain. When Plumer left, George had seniority, and they considered him the team captain. And George really helped guide the team because all those other guys didn't want the responsibility anyway. They were just skaters.
I don't know if that's true, but
that's true.
Anyway,
Polar
Bear was the best guy on the team at that time, and Marty Grimes was insane. Marty was like unreal. Yeah.
So what? Just real briefly, I mean, did you guys ever go when you were living in Florida? Did you ever go out and see Jimmy and have some session that's more memorable than others?
Hell yeah! In 1977, we graduated high school and went out there and skated the dog bowl with all the guys. Alva, Jay, fucking Shogo. And Jay was so out of the universe skating. It was crazy.
Oh man, yeah.
If you guys never had a chance to skate with Jay in the 70s, you missed out on something, because I was like, dude, who would even think that stuff is possible? The stuff
Jay was, every run was completely different with him.
This is
so
Jay,
spontaneous.
Jay Adams we're talking
Jay
about?
Adams, yeah.
He was doing stuff that no one would think was even possible. So you would never attempt it. And that it was just a life-changing experience. That was the dog bowl that nobody got to skate unless you're one of the boys.
Did Jay Adams kick Jimmy into a higher gear, you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jay was really cool. You know, Alva was kind of an ass. He wouldn't talk to you. He didn't want anybody to just get near his coolness. And that's how Plumer was a protege of Alva. And so that's the life Plumer led. But Jay was nice to everybody.
Yeah, we used to call Plumer the East Coast Mad Dog. You know, he sort of kind of emulated Alva a little bit.
Plumer wanted to be Alva so bad. Even when we were in high school, you know, we'd beat him up. He'd go, if I was Alva, I'd kick your ass. We go, yeah, well, you're not Alva.
Did he get the fedora? Did he get the fedora and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, 100%.
Hey, so George, one thing I want you to ask. So did Kent step away from Z-Flex, or what was his involvement?
Okay, Kent was like, I mean, Kent was a pioneer in the surf world in the 60s,
right?
And he was a sailboat builder and mold maker, and that's how he created that. Okay, when it was the Zephyr team, he created that Zephyr. So
the board with the natural flex.
Yeah. So Kent, what happened was, like it kind of basically skateboarders started dying in the end of '79, and then Kent went on and started, he started working for the CIA, and he was creating, like we
can't talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
He didn't work for the CIA.
Statute of limitations is over. You can talk now.
Like he was creating things that would pass through radar. He was doing like the first drone wings, and so
Composite stuff.
yeah, he
you had
became
work with
super. He
right.
became super successful.
Don't tell him about the time travel.
I won't tell him about that.
And he invented the Zephyr.
He made that first fiberglass board that all the Z boys were riding with the Zephyr.
It had a kick tail that nothing. No.
It was like a rocker board.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that what Will
It had
Jones?
built-in grip tape. It had built-in grip tape.
And
Yeah.
and that built-in riser bar down the middle, and the built-in rail grab.
I mean,
Yeah, that's right. They were cut out for the wheel wells. Yeah.
It was modeled after that white Hobie with the textured deck from the late '60s.
and Kent was the first guy. Alva came out with it right after, but Kent basically created the concave skateboard too. And he made all the molds, and we did it with because the thing is too, when they transition out of the fiberglass, like myself, Jim Davey, I think Polar Bear a little bit, but we started making all the skateboards. Like when it became the Z Pig series, we were, especially me and Jim Davey, and we had a couple Hispanics, but we were running the whole factory and making all the boards. We were pressing all our own boards, and yeah, we were doing the whole.
They were teaching the Mexicans how to speak English.
Yeah.
So
we'd be all like this.
The concave board is a major transition in board design.
So this is my question, because I remember the first album that I saw was a local, some dude at the Basin, and he had maybe it was 7 inches or whatever. And it was huge, right?
Yeah.
What was the time schedule when the trucks caught up to the wheel? I mean, because I remember seeing the board and then these little tiny trucks, Bennett Pros or something.
Full track. I think the full track was one of the first wide trucks. And then I remember I was riding because Shogo rode for Gullwing, and then Gullwing started putting extended axles. So you have to put all these washers in there.
Yeah.
So
those
were some of the first.
Gullwing Super Pro.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time.
Yeah, and then Indies came out, and then everything else is history from there. So
and then somebody did it right.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
hey Mitch, I know you're up against time right now.
We're good. We're good.
Okay?
No, we're totally good. If I have to jump in the shower, George can continue talking. Because
you can show up sweaty. It's just Buck.
Oh, I got
you. I'll tell him you said that.
Chuck and Buck. Yeah, he's not so little anymore.
Well, it's just a shame that we lose all these great people from the 70s. You know, we lost Sean Petty and stuff, and now Jimmy Plumer's gone.
How did Sean Petty die?
Cancer.
I don't know. I have to make something up. I thought it was a cardiac thing, wasn't it? Somebody said it was a.
No, his sister said it was cancer. I ran into her at the when he got inducted into California Hall of Fame, and his sister said it was cancer. It was probably cardiac arrest based on that. But
how old was he? In his 50s or what?
Yeah,
so probably early 50s. If that.
Yeah. That's terrible.
He reminded me of Jimmy Plumer because Sean would just attack things, just like Jimmy Plumer.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the guy, the one thing you can say about that guy,
for the moment.
He was very innovative and creative. I respected him for that. I might not have really liked the way he looked when he was riding, but I had so much respect for the stuff that guy did, and he created a lot of tricks. Yeah, he was
incredible. His backside airs with a foot flying off. That was just crazy. Every single time.
Texas plants, they weren't even called that.
Yeah.
And he was
the funny thing is, Plumer too, if you look, all of Plumer's backside airs, his foot like flap way off. And Polar Bear too. Polar Bear's foot came way off on his backside air.
Did the boards change design later on so his foot wouldn't come off, or why was his foot coming off, do you think?
This is weird.
He tried I think he tried to do that, you know.
I don't know, yeah.
I'm
not sure.
I don't know. Seems like it complicates
to make
things.
It that much crazier. Wow. So, that was good stuff. Yeah, Polar Bear ripped. I skated with him a handful of times at Marina. I was amazed. But then it was his home park, and he just shredded that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a 6 to 8 month period no one could touch him there, and I mean, the guy did probably, the gnarliest hand plant inverts of anybody, just stalled and totally extended, and and his board slides from the deep to the shallow.
So bracket Jimmy's majors from 76 to what would you say was his high best moments?
So Plumer arrived in California after high school at the end of the summer of 77, and he was immediately accepted on the Flex team pretty much. He had his own model within a month or so.
Wow.
Roughly. Because that was 77. He skated all through 78 and 79, came back to Florida in about January of 1980.
So would you put Jimmy Plumer in a class with, and I've added one to this. This is my favorite thing to do. Roddy Mullen, Alan Gelfand, Alyssa Steamer, 10 times X Games. She's from Naples.
I've never heard of her.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But she won the female X Games 10 times and more stuff. And then you've got, Mike McGill with the 540. Would you put Plumer in there for his era as somebody that just made a huge impact and came out of our beloved state of Florida?
Well, yeah, for the fact that he was one of the first guys to go to California and get a pro model on one of the top companies. And I mean,
okay.
He may not have been doing all these tricks and stuff, but what you talk about his impact on the skateboarding, for Florida, for sure. He's like, he's a little bit ahead of all those guys, if you ask me. But you know how all that stuff goes.
Impact. Yeah, it was impact.
I think he should have been in the Hall of Fame before a few people that got in, but
absolutely, he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. But here, let me tell you something about Plumer. With that question, when Plumer was part of the Dogtown guys, who were like a bunch of gangsters, if you saw the documentary, you know this. They were kind of, I don't know, not on a certain side of the law. And Plumer had that mentality. There was a rock star era where they were all about the girls, the drugs, getting radical, getting crazy. It didn't care about the establishment or society. They had their own thing going, and the magazines capitalized on that, and everybody in the world loved it. Totally opposite of San Diego and the rest of the world. Like, if you tried the stuff they were doing anywhere else, you'd go to jail. When George and I went out there in 77 and stayed with Plumer and Alva and Jay and all those guys, they're so crazy that we're like, if we did this in Florida, we would go straight to jail. Cops would not put up with it. But it's in LA.
Confirming that skateboarders were all criminals back in the 70s.
The Dogtown guys were.
I don't know about that.
It was just like a rough element. Not to say a criminal. I don't think criminal is the right word, but living life to the fullest.
So Biniak made the analogy when they showed up at that contest in 75. It was like a show. What was it? What did he say? It was like an ice hockey team showing up at an ice skating
figure skating
contest, and that's how they were. And Plumer fit right in. That they took him in like 75-ish, and he had that mentality, and he fit right in, and they loved it, and they just go out and get crazy. I mean, if you rode with them in that era in the 70s, you go, I got to go home. I don't want to go to jail.
How old was he in 77?
In 77, he was 18.
18. Okay, great.
So it sounds like when these guys session, they fed off each other. Kind of like when you go to a contest and when somebody's going to fall. That guy, he never pulls that trick off. But then you're at a contest and there's all this crowd and all this energy, and people pull off stuff that they never make on a normal day that you're skating with them. But it sounds like to me they charged all the time.
They did.
Just pushing it.
They push it. I mean, look at Alva did the first frontside air. And they just pushed each other. You have these high energy, crazy guys that don't know any limits.
Was the bowl that Alva had the wood extension piece of, was that the
Fruit bowl. The fruit bowl.
Fruit bowl.
Fruit bowl,
Yeah, and if you look at Jay at the fruit bowl, I mean, he was basically doing the inverts and the, like he wasn't really making them, or maybe he was kind of landing them and not really making it, but that was so far ahead of anyone doing any of those tricks.
Yeah.
Like he was doing Andreck. He was doing Andreck airs. He was doing the front side, Miller flips or whatever, all those. I mean, that was a couple of years before anyone did any of those tricks.
Yeah.
But he was trying. He was going to say, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? And he was going for it.
I don't think he wasn't even thinking about it.
He just did it.
Do it.
That's how Jay skated. He was just totally spontaneous.
You have to see it to believe it. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. It's so spontaneous and just so.
So you come home and you're just charged up because now you've figured out, hey, on this little hip at the park, well, maybe not the one on the beach in Jax, but things become more real because you see somebody doing something somewhere else and you go, I can do that here.
That's right. That's right.
Because a lot of tricks, if you skate at one park only, you can't learn a certain trick. Then you go to another place that sets up.
When we went out in '77 to visit Plumer, and we skated the dog bowl, which was actually the last day it was ever ridden because we went back the next day and it was being filled up. But we went to skater cross and I started doing frontside airs at skater cross. So I'm not saying I was the first guy in Florida to do a frontside air, but I wasn't the last. So that was when we saw Alva doing them.
Stand, I think.
So that was in
skater cross the
77.
root beer drive-in or something before.
What's this? What are you saying, Phil?
Skater cross. I used to write
it was a
newsletter,
drive-in.
and there was like a drive-in.
Yeah, it was. It still had the sign there.
They filled it in.
There was like a little kind of thing on the last in the back part. They left part of the original stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I saw Alva doing them, and then I started doing them at skater cross on the second bowl and was pulling them. And then the owner was out there. He goes, "Oh my God, I've never seen anyone land an air." Like, well, I guess Tony hasn't been skating here because he lands them.
That's awesome.
And then when we went back is when Orlando opened, and that was like, so I was blasting airs in there, and that was right when we came back, and no one was doing airs there like that. I don't know, like at that time, but because Orlando was pretty big. Not that it was really a great park either, but had some big walls.
Well, it's a big jump to do an aerial. You've been, you're just getting wheels with urethane and sealed bearings.
Yeah.
Because that was another big jump, getting out of the loose bearings. And now you're going to do an aerial, and now you have to think, and you're actually doing math in your head. As you jump, as you lift off, you already know instantaneously whether you made it or not, right? You just, you're not pitched or you're not messed up. And it's a exponentially larger commitment in a move than a kick turn. You do a kick turn, you just kick out and run down the wall or whatever they do now, knee slides. But doing that air on some of the transitions that we skated on was something that you had to have a certain, maybe what we talk about, reckless abandonment, what we talked about with Jimmy. You had to be able to commit to that. And if you couldn't imagine how you were going to make that turn and land again, then you weren't used. Those were the people that Mitch was talking about, who would, skinny away from getting a wheeler or didn't want to go up on the edge. And just to be somebody, the first people to do an aerial. And for me, backside air was always scarier. I couldn't see the board. I'm trying to grab something I couldn't find. Yeah. But frontside air would seem to make sense.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, who else is in the discussion for frontside air? You got Tony Alva and George Wilson. And I mean, who else was there?
I didn't do it. No, he was already doing them. So when I started, because I saw him do it and I did. So I'm just saying maybe for Florida, like, like Mark Lake was doing, they were doing all that stuff. Alan Gelfand had already been doing the ollie before that, because I saw him when he was a kid. So what I'm saying.
In 77?
What's that?
In 77, Gelfand was doing the
Well,
70.
I don't know when were parks. So what was the skate park he skated at? His local park.
That was way down south.
Hollywood.
Okay,
Hollywood,
I went down there, and it was probably were parks open in 76?
Before Kona, you went to
Oh yeah, I went down with Norman Cox, and Gelfand was doing ollies on the banks,
So
and I was
but not vert.
before that.
Not vert.
No, not on vert, but he was doing
Just
he
little,
was
like,
doing literal ollie airs.
Okay.
So that could have been 77. He came to the basin in 78 wearing long pants. Between 78 and 79, he had to wear shorts or he wouldn't be in Skateboarder magazine. So that's the benchmarks. Stacy told him, we have this, trick tips or who's hot or whatever, sequential of the ollie hop, but he had to wear shorts. So when you saw him, he had corduroys or something on?
He was wearing long pants for sure. Bell bottoms.
Long corduroys.
Yeah. But this was early, very early. But it was on bank. He wasn't doing it on vert, but he was doing real ollie airs. He was flicking them.
Yeah, because that started as lip slides. Remember, that was a big deal. Lip slides. Yeah. That's got to be where that started. But he just took it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is because I went to the park in the Atlantic and Mark Lake and Greg Michaud, they were doing those, kind of flip airs and all that. But all I'm saying is like a real frontside air where you pull out and keep riding.
Yep.
I'm not saying I was the first, but I learned them when I saw Alva do it on that trip. So, and then when we came back, I went to Orlando. It just opened, and I was doing them there. So.
What was that?
I don't claim anything.
Check out. I got to go.
Okay.
Good seeing you
you,
guys.
Phil.
Sorry it's
Thank
on
you.
a sad occasion like
Thanks,
this,
buddy.
but this has been wonderful talking about Jimmy.
Thanks for
Plumer.
everything,
All right,
Phil.
buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Talk to you later.
All right, close the show up when you get a chance, Ed.
Yes, sir.
Wrap her up, Ed.
All right. So let me do the wrap up and then we can talk a little bit more. So, hey, thanks for joining us on this solemn occasion. We had this weekend, we did the paddle out. Actually, I was unable to attend, but the paddle out for Jimmy Plumer at Jax Beach was done. Thank you, Mitch, for all your hard work getting that organized. And we've got George Wilson here with us, as well as I think George McClellan is still on. He's turned his video off.
Yeah.
But thank you. Yes, he's here. So thank you very much for tuning in and like, follow, and share if you can. We appreciate it. And we have the Skateboarding Bros Show.